It is April 1940, but the spring dawn over Norway brings no peace. The thunder of aircraft engines grows louder. Through breaks in the clouds, black crosses mark the sky as ominous waves of German bombers close in. Below, nervously cutting through the steel-gray waters of Romsdalsfjord, is a lone vessel, a brave remnant of Norwegian defiance against Hitler's war machine. Even smaller than most other destroyers, at just 708 tons, HNoMS Sleipner braces herself to face the overwhelming force descending upon her, her crew prepared for the worst as they man their anti-aircraft guns. Bombs come raining down around her. A deafening explosion throws a column of water higher than her mast, barely 65 feet from her hull. Another blast rocks the tiny ship, and another. Yet through salt spray and cordite smoke, her gunners hold steady, skillfully tracking their targets as they battle for survival. It might be too late to save Norway, but the tiny destroyer had no intention of becoming another casualty of Hitler's expansion. Not while she still had ammunition in her magazines and fuel in her tanks. Development. When HNoMS Sleipner slid down the slipway at Karl Johansvern Naval Shipyard in Horten on May 7, 1936, she represented more than just a new warship for the Norwegian Royal Navy. She was the herald of a new era. Named after the Norse god Odin's legendary eight-legged horse, Sleipner was the first of a new class designed to replace Norway's outdated World War I-era Draug-class destroyers. She was also the first new torpedo ship to join the Norwegian fleet in almost 20 years, breaking a long drought caused by political and financial difficulties following the aftermath of the war. However, the designers who created Sleipner had faced a delicate balancing act. They needed to give her the ability to match neighboring countries' destroyers while keeping her as compact and cost-effective as possible. The result was remarkable. At just under 244 feet in length and displacing 708 tons when fully loaded, Sleipner was smaller than most contemporary destroyers, closer in size to a large torpedo boat. However, her diminutive size belied her capabilities. Powered by 2 de Laval-geared steam turbines, fed by 3 Yarrow boilers, she could achieve an impressive speed of 30 knots, or around 35 miles per hour, in line with many much larger destroyers. Her 100-ton fuel capacity gave her a considerable range of 3,500 nautical miles at cruising speed. What's more, her bridge, mast, and outer funnel incorporated aluminum, a first in Norwegian naval history. This revolutionary choice significantly reduced top weight, improving her stability and handling in the often turbulent North Sea. Her hull was built using special high-strength steel, while longitudinal framing without a double bottom helped reduce weight further. Though this latter feature slightly compromised damage resistance, her engineers compensated by incorporating additional watertight bulkheads throughout the vessel. Despite her size, Sleipner carried formidable armament that marked a generational leap over the aging Draug class. While the older ships made do with 6 outdated 3-inch guns, obsolescent 18-inch torpedo tubes, and virtually no air defense capability, Sleipner boasted 3 modern 10-centimeter Bofors guns as her main battery, with a 40mm Bofors anti-aircraft gun and 2 12-7mm Colt machine guns, crucial additions in an era when air power was becoming increasingly important. Her 2 modern 21-inch torpedo tubes were also a vast improvement, giving her much more hitting power against large surface vessels. Early career. When Sleipner joined the Royal Norwegian Navy in 1937, she was assigned to the 2nd Naval District, which covered the strategically vital regions of Vestlandet and Trøndelag along Norway's western coast. As Europe edged toward war, her modern capabilities would soon be put to the test in an international incident that captured global attention. In October 1939, just weeks after World War II began, Sleipner found herself thrust into a diplomatic crisis. The American freighter City of Flint had been seized by the German pocket battleship Deutschland, which declared the ship's cargo of tractors, grain, and fruit to be contraband. After placing a prize crew aboard, the Germans attempted to sail her to Germany. The City of Flint sought shelter in the northern Norwegian port of Tromsø, claiming damage at sea, a privilege known as Havarie in German. However, Norway refused to accept this excuse. The Norwegian authorities, already disturbed by recent German attacks on their merchant shipping, gave the Germans 24 hours to leave. On October 21st, Sleipner was ordered to escort the captured American vessel out of Norwegian territorial waters. At 4:20 p.m. that day, She firmly but professionally shepherded the city of Flint back into international waters. The Germans then diverted to Murmansk in the Soviet Union, arriving on October 23rd. However, despite having signed a non-aggression pact with Germany 2 months previously, the Soviets were not yet directly involved in the war. After several days of diplomatic wrangling, they forced the ship to leave. The prize crew attempted to enter Norway again, this time at the port of Haugesund. Once more, they were refused entry, with Norwegian authorities now describing the German crew as kidnappers. The situation was finally resolved when Norwegian forces boarded the city of Flint and returned her to her American captain. Sleipner's role in this delicate situation, involving a neutral United States, an increasingly aggressive Germany, and the complex requirements of international law, embodied the Norwegian commitment to avoid getting involved in the conflict. However, with German forces already secretly planning their invasion of Norway, their ability to maintain this position would become increasingly difficult. The German invasion. On April 8, 1940, Sleipner was patrolling Hustadvika Bay alongside the patrol boat Syrian. Their mission was to monitor what appeared to be a British minefield, laid the previous day by the destroyers Hero and Hyperion as part of Operation Wilfred. In reality, the mines were fictitious, a strategic deception. But Sleipner's crew had little time to ponder this mystery. Rumors were already abounding that the Germans were preparing to invade. Soon, they received urgent orders to join the torpedo boats Trig and Sild at the mouth of Romsdalsfjord, where they were to prevent any attempt at German intrusion. The gravity of the situation became clear the following morning when word reached Sleipner's captain, Ernst Ullring, that German forces had launched a massive surprise attack along Norway's entire coast. The invasion force had struck simultaneously at multiple ports, stretching across 1,500 miles of coastline. On April 11th, Captain Ullring received new orders from Rear Admiral Karsten Tank Nielsen, commander of the 2nd Naval District. Ullring was to take command of the hastily assembled Romsdalsfjord Naval District, established just the day before. Under his command were Sleipner herself, the torpedo boats Trig, Sild, and Skry, and an improvised air group consisting of a Norwegian seaplane, a captured German Arado AR-196, and 2 British Supermarine Walrus aircraft. Captain Ullring wasted no time putting his small force to work. On April 12th, acting on intelligence received 2 days earlier, he decided to investigate reports of 2 German vessels making their way down the coast. The ships were identified as the merchant vessel Ruhrort, a 1,080-ton freighter from Duisburg, and the 420-ton trawler Thuringen. Having fled from Ålesund when news of the invasion broke, these vessels had anchored at Stedavika Bay near Skotje, raising local fears that they may be carrying German troops. Ullring coordinated his naval forces with the local defense, a militia of about 100 civilian volunteers organized by police officer Henrik Dye Qual. Though mostly armed with Krag-Jorgensen rifles and shotguns, these determined locals were ready to prevent any German escape over land. Sleipner led the naval task force, accompanied by the torpedo boat Trig and the guard boat Commonwealth, as they moved to seize the German vessels. When the Norwegian flotilla entered the bay, the German crews abandoned their ships for the lifeboats. Lieutenant Dagfinn E. Kjeholt, Sleipner's second-in-command, led a boarding party to search the Ruhrort. Though they found her machinery sabotaged beyond immediate repair, the search of Thuringen yielded a more dramatic discovery. 2 armed bombs had been hidden in her engine and boiler rooms. After safely disarming these devices, the Norwegians put Thuringen into service as a guard vessel. Sleipner versus the Luftwaffe. As Luftwaffe bombers began their relentless assault on the Romsdalsfjord area, Sleipner remained steadfast in her defense of the region. As her superior defenses made her the most capable warship in Captain Ullring's small force, Sleipner took the lead in defending Allied operations in the Molde-Åndalsnes area. On April 20th, Sleipner faced her first major air attack in Romsdalsfjord. When German bombers descended on her position, she responded with fierce accuracy. Her 40mm Bofors anti-aircraft gun proved devastatingly effective. 1 German bomber, struck by her fire, plunged into the sea near the island of Sekun. Several other aircraft limped away with visible damage. 2 days later, she claimed another bomber, this one crashing at Narvik. That same day, Sleipner successfully defended a shipment of requisitioned horses from air attack, even as German aircraft dropped 48 bombs around her. The closest missed by just over 65 feet, but Sleipner remained undamaged. Between battles, Sleipner's crew employed clever tactics to survive. They would anchor in the Fjord, carefully camouflaging their vessel with tree branches to hide from the ever-present Luftwaffe reconnaissance planes. But they couldn't hide forever. On April 25th, Sleipner endured a sustained attack by 12 German bombers. Despite being struck multiple times by strafing runs, she emerged with her crew miraculously unharmed. However, the constant combat had taken its toll. That night, at 11:25 p.m., with her ammunition depleted and battle damage requiring repair, Sleipner finally departed on Dalsnes. She had accomplished her mission. 2 weeks of relentless defense had bought crucial time for Allied operations in the area, and in the process, she had begun to build a legend. Escape to Britain. After slipping away from the Norwegian coast under cover of darkness, Sleipner made her way west across the North Sea. At 7 p.m. on April 26th, she arrived at Lyrik in the Shetland Islands, though her approach initially caused some alarm among British forces until her identity was confirmed. She remained there only briefly, departing at 9 a.m. the following morning for Scapa Flow, the Royal Navy's major base in the Orkney Islands, where she arrived that evening. Her respite would be short. On April 30th, Sleipner left Scapa Flow, bound for the River Tyne, where she was to undergo repairs. Even this journey proved eventful. German mining operations forced her to divert to Rosyth before she could finally reach the Tyne shipyards. It would be June 17th before the damage from her 2 weeks of constant combat could be fully repaired. Meanwhile, back in Norway, tales of her tenacious resistance in defense of the country had captured the population. For the country's postage stamps, the Norwegian government chose Sleipner's image for the 5 issue, a fitting tribute to the destroyer that had become a powerful symbol of Norwegian resistance. Now, with Sleipner ready for action once more, the Royal Navy quickly put her proven capabilities to use. Assigned to escort duty along Britain's east coast, she began protecting the vital convoys that kept Britain's war effort alive. Her first escort mission came shortly after her repairs were complete, when she joined convoy FN 206, departing from Southend on June 27, 1940. On September 8th, when German bombers attacked shipping at Methel Roads, she rushed to aid the damaged Dutch merchant ship Stad Vlardingen, taking her under tow to safety. By July 1941, she'd become an integral part of Rosyth Command's escort force, operating alongside British and Dutch warships, protecting convoys from U-boat and air attacks. In 1942, Sleipner underwent a significant upgrade. Her original main guns were replaced with 2 new dual-purpose 4-inch pieces, better suited for engaging both ships and aircraft. In a twist of fate, her original 3 10-centimeter guns were sent to reinforce the Norwegian garrison in Svalbard, though they would later be destroyed during a German raid on the Arctic archipelago. By the time she was decommissioned from the Royal Navy on March 10, 1944, Sleipner had escorted 156 convoys through some of the war's most dangerous waters. While the Luftwaffe might have claimed to have sunk her 3 times, the unsinkable ship had lived up to her nickname, earning her place in Norwegian naval history. Like her namesake, Odin's 8-legged steed, Sleipner had proven remarkably difficult to catch or slay. Post-war service. When peace returned to Europe in May 1945, Sleipner sailed home to Norway. After her long years of wartime service, she was initially placed in reserve, but Norway's post-war navy still had plans for her. In 1948, Sleipner underwent a comprehensive modernization and conversion into a frigate. Her designation changed several times during this period. She became H-48 in 1946, and later received the designation F-300. The modifications enhanced her anti-submarine warfare capabilities to meet the evolving needs of naval warfare in the early Cold War. Despite her age, Sleipner continued serving into the 1950s, alongside her surviving sister ship, Giller, which had been returned to Norwegian control after serving in the German Navy as Löwe, before both ships were finally retired and sold for scrap in the latter half of the decade.